Welcome to a new episode of Sugarfolk Homemade. Sorry about that. My podcast where I talk about all the things I've been crafting. This week I have mostly knitting and one tiny little piece of sewing. Sorry the camera moved. My kitten is here with me. So yeah, if you are new here, which is a very good possibility because it seems like my channel is growing very consistently and quite rapidly right now, which I'm so thankful for. It's been crazy. I just posted a video like 2 videos ago about how I hit 1,000 and now we're over 2,000. So thank you guys. But anyways, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michaela and I live in Western North Carolina in the mountains with my husband and our 3 kids and our little kitty. And if you are returning, welcome back. I want to say a big thank you to everyone returning and thank you for everyone who has been commenting. The comments on my giveaway video have absolutely floored me. You guys are so nice and your comments are just very encouraging, and I feel like that's why I've been wanting to come back more recently and post more often, because you guys are such kind supporters and it makes it exciting. So yeah, thank you guys very much and we will jump right in. I hope you've got something cozy to sip on. We are at the end of October now, so we're in full swing of fall over here and I love it. This is my time. So I'm drinking a chai latte in this cute little fall mug. And it's actually really, really hot. I haven't even tasted it yet. Also, now that I'm looking in the camera, I feel like I should take my glasses off. They always glare so bad. I have to turn on the, the selfie light with the video because the lighting in my house is just not good. And then it glares back at my glasses, so we'll just take them off. I can see fine, so it'll be fine. And there was another thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, I am coming to you from yet another different location in my house. I really liked my last location where you can see part of my kitchen and then my living room behind me. But my living room is quite a disaster right now because it's the weekend, my husband's home. I try not to keep up with house stuff too much on the weekend because we just kind of spend time together and chill. So anyways, the living room is kind of messy, and also everywhere I went to film today, the lighting, there was just beams of sunlight going across the camera, and yeah, so this is where I'm at today. This is another corner of my kitchen. It's actually 2 feet away from where I normally sit. I'm just faced the opposite way. But yeah, I have a lot to show you guys. I don't know, as soon as the cold weather hits, I need to move this away from the table because I'm going to keep knocking it. There we go. Let's be still. Okay. As soon as cold weather hits, I am Knitty Gonzalez. I speed knit because, I don't know, the cold weather, I get so excited about knitting and we're inside a lot more. And I have just been knitting like crazy, and I love it. I've really gotten better lately about taking things with me to knit, in the car, and just anytime we're going somewhere. People now expect that I'm gonna bring my knitting, and it's not offensive to people if I'm knitting while we're chatting or things like that. We went to playgroup last week, and I brought my knitting. I usually am hovering over my kids, making sure they're not hurting someone else's feelings or fighting or something like that, but this time I brought my knitting and I just kind of let them do their thing and I sat there and knit, and it was glorious. So yeah, enough rambling. I do have 2 finished objects, well, almost 3 actually, to show. So I will start with the first one, and that is my all-day sweater by Lily Kate France. So I've been working on this since around this summer, I think. I'm not a monogamous knitter, so I usually have a lot of things going at once, so everything takes me kind of a long time. But this is my all-day sweater. As you can see, it's got some moss stitch detail up here, and then it's pretty boxy. There's some more moss stitch at the bottom. I've just got a little flowy shirt under it. And then the best part are these sleeves. So the sleeves have a nice little pleat in them. And you can see I made my sleeves a little short. They fit right at my wrist when I stand up, but when I'm knitting or really using my hands for anything, they are around here, and that's exactly the way I need my sleeves. I love the coziness of a super long sleeve, but they're just not practical for me. So this did call for longer sleeves than this by about, I think, like another 10 rows of the stockinette. So that would have been like almost 2 inches, and that was just too long. It also called for the body to be a bit longer, not by much, but just a bit. And I shortened it just a tiny bit because I thought that I was gonna wear this over dresses. But I still made it a little bit too long, so now it's really too long to wear over dresses for my taste. But it's not long enough on its own because it's so, it's hard to see. Let's see if I can back this chair up. There we go. So because it's like a boxy and it is longer in the back, you can see it's very it's a very open boxy sweater. But because of that, like, I can't wear it with leggings because, you know, I've got the woman childbearing hips, and I like for things to hit below like where my hips are. So that's why I have this shirt on under it, just to kind of fill in the gap. So I may eventually go back in and lengthen it just like an inch, just so that it hits right there. I do wear it sometimes with like some high-waisted mom jeans, and I like to tuck it in the front, and that's really cute. But with leggings and like a cozy outfit, I do want something longer under it to kind of fill that gap and cover up my hips a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of this if it's not too hot. It smells so good. I put a little, so I bought this chai latte mix at Walmart about an hour ago. We went to Walmart and I saw it and I was like, ooh, that sounds good. So it's just the mix with some hot water, and then I frothed some almond milk to go on top, and then a little bit of cinnamon. Oh my gosh. Heaven. That's delicious. Oh, second finished object. Oh, by the way, sorry. You know, if I was a better podcaster, I would make a list of like the timeline of how my recording is gonna go and what I'm gonna talk about when and all that, but I don't do that, so I'm sorry. Anyways, the yarn that I used for this sweater was from Hobby Lobby, and it was Yarn Bee Warm and Cozy, and it is very soft and very cozy, but it was like 15 bucks for the whole sweater worth of yarn, so you get what you pay for. But it is already, you can kind of see, it's starting to pill, and especially over here in the moss stitch. I actually got this hung on our diaper bag, one of the little rings, and it yanked a big piece of this out, and I was like panicking, and my husband was like, calm down, let me come over here and I'll take it out, because it was like stuck on my back and my arm was like this, and he got it out and I was able to stretch the fabric back out and pull that piece back in. But yeah, you can see it's pilling pretty bad. But honestly, I don't mind pilling. To me, that kind of just makes a sweater look more cozy. Like, it looks more lived in, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of, I mean, I like for things to be nice and beautiful and perfect when you're first done, but I kind of like the look of something that has gotten a lot of love and is being worn regularly. I would prefer that over it just like, I'm not gonna not wear it just because it's gonna pill. You know what I mean? Okay. So next finished object is actually on my feet. It's my socks. I should have thought about that and not worn them today, but they keep my feet so warm and toasty, so I just had to. But they're my, can I do this? These are my I called them, when I first started them, I intended that they would be my Christmas socks this year. I've showed them on many episodes prior because it took me a long time to finish these. They are, you know what, I should just take one off and show you. Is that gross? My feet are clean, I promise. Okay, so this is the sock. It's not like a Christmas colorway, but I think they're very festive because it is self-striping, and I did this is a West Yorkshire Spinners signature 4-ply in the colorway Robin, and I did a 2x2 rib up top for I think like 15 rows, and then I did a 3x1 broken rib throughout the rest of the sock. And I have to say, these fit so much more comfortably than my other pair of knit socks, which are just stockinette all the way, because these have a little bit of stretch to them because of the rib. Even though it's a broken rib, I find that they're just so cozy. I do think, though, I knit these on 2.5 millimeters, 64 stitch cast on, because that's what has worked for me on prior socks. But I think as I'm knitting more, my gauge is loosening up, because I used to be a pretty tight knitter, but it seems like my gauge is loosening up quite a bit, and the foot fits perfect, but around my ankle and the bottom of my calf is a little baggy, like it tends to want to slip down. So I might start doing, I don't want to go down in needle size because I like the fabric that I get, and also my sock needles are just a fixed cord, and those are like my sock needles, so I want to keep those, but I think I may go down to a 60 stitch on the leg, and then when I do decreases, I'll only decrease to 64 to keep the 64 on the foot for the next pair. Oh, and the contrast heel, I don't remember what yarn I used, but it was classified as a fingering, but to me it feels more like a sport, which I kind of like because it feels a little bit more sturdy for the heel, because that's where I tend to run holes in my socks, are in the heel. Okay, I'm gonna slip that back on. I'm extra cozy right now because I have on my knit socks and my little Christmas house slippers. I'm fully in the Christmas mood for some reason. Well, I know the reason. I've been catching up on people's, on some podcasters that I watch. I've been catching up on their Vlogmases from last year, and it's just got me in the Christmas spirit. I almost used a Christmas mug today, but I was like, nah, I need to chill. Okay, so I'm gonna have another sip of this because it's so good. Oh my gosh. That is so good. I almost didn't buy that mix because I was like, well, I have chai tea and I know how to, I know what goes in a chai latte. I'll just make it. But no, this is so much easier. It's just powder, milk, or powder, water, milk. Yeah. Okay, so next thing is almost a finished object. And it is the, sorry, not prepared, Marilla's Mittens by Amy Scher. Before I show the pattern or anything about it, Mom, if you are watching this, please turn it off or skip ahead like 5 minutes because these are for you. Okay, so these are for my mom for Christmas, and this is the pattern. I'm doing the fingerless option. I feel like those are just much more practical where I'm at. We have cold winters, but it's not like super, super cold, and I know that my mom could get more use out of a fingerless pair because you can do a lot. You can do anything with fingerless, but if you've got real mittens on, you're kind of limited. So yeah, aren't these absolutely beautiful? I looked for a detailed, I was specifically looking for a cabled fingerless mittens because I wanted something that was like dainty at the same time. And so I searched Ravelry for like a week, and finally I came across these and I was like, that's perfect. And the yarn that I'm using is a yarn that I showed a couple of episodes ago. that I got from my local yarn store. So it's not really like a brand name, but it is a super fine alpaca DK. It was this like emerald green color that I showed you guys. Oh, it's beautiful. And so I have finished one mitten, and I am now working on the second, which is literally all I have to do is pick up the thumb, do like 2 rounds of stockinette and then the ribbing, and it's done. But are these not absolutely beautiful? As I was knitting them, I thought that this yarn was not going to be good for the detail because the yarn is very fuzzy. I don't know if you can see how fuzzy it is. And it's very soft, and alpaca is really drapey, so there's not any structure hardly. But, and even in person, it's a little tricky. It's a little hard to like see the full detail, but on camera you can see it really nicely. So yeah, I'll slip one on. I think I'm gonna make another pair of these for myself in the same color because they're just so pretty. I need to weave in the ends, obviously, but I just think these are beautiful. Now, the only problem I've had is the thumb. It's kind of hard to show. That's the best place to see. There's a bit of a hole there. So when you pick up the thumb stitches, it asks you, the pattern says to pick up 1 stitch in that edge to combine it or to join it to the rest of the mitten. And that's not enough stitches. So I kept the little tail in there, which is not very long, which kind of makes me nervous that it won't be enough, but I'm going to use that to kind of like sew up the hole. And then on the second one, instead of picking up just 1, I think I'm going to pick up 1 in the middle and then 1 on either side, or even 4 total, 2 and 2, and then I'll just decrease those on the next round, because the specific number of stitches is not a big deal. I can just decrease until I get an even number to do the ribbing at the end of the thumb, and then you won't have that gaping hole. It's just like with the heel on socks, you get that hole in the corner, and you really you need to either have chosen a contrast color so you have an end there that you can sew the hole up with later, or pick up extra and then knit those 2 stitches together. So yeah, I'm hoping that my little end in here is long enough to just kind of sew the hole up and we'll be golden. So this same pattern, one of my really good friends, Kendra, if you're watching, Kendra, hello. She has a birthday in December, and I wanted to make her something for her birthday / Christmas, and I showed her this pattern and she liked it. So I'm going to make her the same mittens in this yarn that is from a Christmas gift that I knit last year. I made my stepdad a beanie out of this, and I know that it's DK weight and it has a little bit of cashmere in it, and that's about all I remember. I can't remember the name of it, but I know it's on my Ravelry page. So if you go on my Ravelry projects and you see the little beanie, that this is listed there. So I think that I have enough, because I feel like these took hardly any yarn. I mean, it's a fingerless mitt, so it's not going to take a lot. And they were super quick. I mean, I have not been working on these like consistently, but I did the first one in about 5 days, and then this one's been about a week and it's almost done. So I know I'll have time, like I can squeeze in another pair by Christmas. And I think this color will be really nice. Also, this has a lot more structure than the alpaca, so I think that the detail is going to show up a lot better. This also has little flecks of like red, and there's some blues in there. There's even some greens actually, yeah, right there. So I think those will be really pretty. She likes neutral colors for, you know, clothing and that kind of stuff. So I didn't want to give her anything that was like a crazy color that she could never match with. But I wanted to give her something that would be practical for her, and this yarn just seems like the perfect fit. So I will measure. I need to go look and see how much yardage there was to begin with, and then do some figuring and make sure that I have enough. But I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna have enough to do another pair. And then I'm gonna do another pair for myself, probably in this same green color, because it's just, the camera does not pick up how beautiful it is. It is just, it's so beautiful. It's almost like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's really pretty. Maybe if I put it in front of the light coming from outside. Nah. Just trust me, it's much more beautiful than it looks on camera. Okay, next I have, how many new cast-ons do I have? 2? Yeah, I have 2 new cast-ons, so that's where I'm gonna head after another sip. The smell of the cinnamon whenever I lift the cup is almost just as good as the taste of the drink itself. Okay, I'm going to show you my favorite new cast-on first because I'm so excited about this. Okay, so we all know that sweater vests are a big thing because the 90s are coming back. And yeah, I'm here for it, honestly. I was born in 96, so I didn't really, I didn't grow up in the 90s really because I was still a baby, but I have nothing against the 90s fashion. So this is a sweater vest that I found that I thought was just beautiful. This is the Lana vest by Irene Lynn. If you have not seen her patterns on Ravelry, oh my gosh, this girl has got some talent. Every single one of her patterns are just amazing. And especially the way this pattern is written, oh my gosh, I feel like this woman's a genius. And every single row is written out, which I love. I can do charts just fine, but I don't know, something about, well, also the charts in this are pretty small and hard for me to read. Sometimes it hurts my eyes to look at charts, but I can follow written instructions pretty good. So, making sure I didn't just lose my place in this pattern. Okay, yeah. I think they're all written out. I could be wrong because I'm not all the way through, but I think I am. Or I think it is all written out. So, I have made a lot of progress on this, I must say, because when I first started it, I thought to myself, oh, a fully cabled garment, that's going to take me a year. But I don't know, because it's addicting, and I've already gotten, I don't know, 40% done. So this is what I've got so far. Oh my gosh, these big chunky cables right here. I'll show you the back because you can see the full pattern. So you've got the little, you got moss stitch on the sides, and then little cable, big cable, little cable, and then this cool, looks like twisted stitches almost, but it's actually just a combination of knits and purls, which is really cool. So this yarn, it calls for a, what is it? I don't know if this is even going to tell me. I don't remember what weight it calls for. Good luck. I mean, I have the pattern right here. Well, oh, here we go. Aran weight. Okay, so I went on Lovecrafts and I knew I wanted almost the same color in the picture because it just looked very versatile. And so I went with Paintbox Yarns Wool Mix Aran, which I could have just looked right there to figure out. I was like scanning the whole ball looking for it. And this is in the color, dang it, why do they do this? There was a name for this on the website, but now on the ball it's just 807. I think it was something like vanilla or something. On the website it did not look this yellow. And at first when I got it, I was like, oh man, I was really wanting like a white, like an off-white, not like a cream. But I actually really, really like it. And this yarn is a 50% wool, 50% acrylic. I talked before about how I really like that because it's a lot cheaper than just wool. It's not as itchy as wool. You still get some properties of wool, but then you also get the properties of acrylic, so it's not as hard to take care of. Yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. So, anyways, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to wear this. I have this black, like tight-fitting turtleneck that I want to wear under this. Also, I'm working on sewing a dress, which I will show you, that I actually started because I want to wear it under this vest. And, oh, the size. Oh, before I forget, I am using recommended needles. I almost always use recommended needle size, and I just either, if I can't get gauge, I usually just do a different size in the pattern. So unless I specify that I've used a different needle, I'm using the recommended needles. So what was I going to say? Dang it. What was I going to say? I really don't remember. Okay, well, if I remember, I'll come back to it. Anyways, I'm really excited about this. I cannot put it down. I think it's because every single row is a little bit different, and it's not just like a boring, stockinette that I'm having to engage my mind in it, and I can just like zone out of everything else. I love this project. And oh, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to talk about the size. Okay, so I went through all of the project pages to see what sizes people were making, because the one in the picture was a size 2, and it was pretty big. And I didn't know if I wanted mine that big, but then the people who made size 1, it was pretty small. And so I kind of wanted like an in-between. So I was kind of hoping that my gauge was going to come out tight, and then I could just knit size 2 and it would come out a little bit smaller. But that didn't happen. My gauge was spot on. And so I was really torn between which size to do, and then I asked my husband. I was leaning more towards the first size, the smaller one. And he said, no, you'll never wear that. Your style's more like the second one. And on more occasions than I care to admit, he knows me better than I know myself, so I went with what he said, and I'm knitting the size 2. And I think that I'm going to be very happy with it. It's funny how, you're with someone for so long and then they start to know you better than you know yourself. I talked about that in a couple episodes ago. When we have tea at night, my husband makes my tea better than I do, because he knows, I don't know, he just knows he knows what I like more than I do. I always put too little creamer, or I put too much water, but like he knows just the way I like it, so I take his word for it whenever his opinion is a little bit different than mine, unless I know I'm right, which obviously I'll go with my opinion, but in this case, I thought he might be right, so here we are. So just gotta do the rest of the body, and then you go in and there's ribbing around all the edges, which I'm not looking forward to. I don't love ribbing, but I will do it, especially for a good cabled sweater vest. This is making me want to knit a full-on cabled sweater, so maybe in my future I will do that. So I'm just holding that in this big basket. I've got a just regular knitting needle in here because that's how I do my cables. I don't have a cable needle. I just put them on a spare needle, put it where it needs to go. It works great. I know you can do it without a cable needle, but it just seems confusing to me. So So on my little mittens, there are some, well, it's not really a cable, it's twisted stitches. So, never mind. Forget what I was going to say. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're doing new cast-ons. That's right. Ooh. This next cast-on is a pair of socks. And I don't know what got into me. I really don't. Because I'm not a huge fan of stranded color work. Just because I feel like my tension's not perfect and it can be a little unpredictable. I've just not done enough of it to know how my tension is. And especially with socks, I thought I'm not even going to attempt colorwork socks because it's already so fiddly because you're with little needles and yada yada yada. But something inside of me said, you need to make these the most colorwork socks on the planet. These are the Easy Peasy socks by Carolina Adamczyk. I know that I just butchered that. So sorry. Yeah, I saw these. I think what happened is I had this specific yarn and I knew I wanted to do something with it, but I couldn't figure it out, and then I saw this and I said, "Oh, perfect." So, yeah, I mean, you can't get more color work than that. I mean, every other row, it's full color work. Okay, how did I do this? I don't know. I don't want to get it out of order. So, I started them. I used the recommended needles. I did go up to a size, so it has a 6, where is it? There's a 60, well, I don't know where it is. I believe there is a 60 stitch cast on and a 68 stitch cast on. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, 60, and then next was 68. And since I'm usually a 64, and I figured my colorwork tension might be tight, I went up to a 68. And I think I could have got away with the 60. Also, I lied. I'm not using the recommended needles. I'm using my regular 2.5 millimeters. Yeah, okay. So, the pattern recommends 2.5 millimeter for the ribbing, and then you switch to 3 millimeter for the sock. But I knew I was going to be doing 2.5 millimeter for the whole thing, so that's why I went up to the 68 stitch cast on, because I knew between my color work probably being tight and I was using a smaller needle that it should come out. And so far, it's turning out great. So, let me show you what we've got going on. I love these. They are very Nordic looking to me, and these colors together, these are like the most festive little Christmas socks. They're not going to be done by Christmas, but maybe for next year, they'll be my Christmas socks. Because they just kind of look like little snowflakes. I don't know, it looks very festive to me. So you've got color work all here and then on the top of the foot, but then the heel and the bottom of the foot is all of this, it's just striped like that, the vertical stripes. And I think that's so fun. Keeps it very interesting. When I first started this, I think I knit like this much in one sitting, which is a lot for me, especially with color work, because I was just addicted. It's the same with cables, I think, because every row is requiring me to actually focus. I just can't get myself away from it. But unfortunately, I have not been working on this a whole lot, just because I have a lot of other things going on and a lot of Christmas things. But the yarn I'm using is, this is another West Yorkshire Spinners 4-ply. I don't remember the color. I think it was something cream. I don't know. I had the ball band and I always lose them. I don't know where they go. And then this one is a yarn that I spoke about, a lady who sent me a whole box of yarn a few months ago. This was in there, and this was, why don't I write these things down? something about peacocks. Peacock Studio. I think I have it on my Ravelry page. I think. But anyways, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's a self-striping. Maybe it is. I'm trying to look at how it's changing. It's hard to tell in this because it's not a consistent show of the color. But it makes for an interesting color work option against the solid white. Because this doesn't ever go white. There's always a contrast. And yeah, I didn't know what else I would use this for. I knew I really wanted to use it for something, but as far as like a piece of clothing goes, I couldn't see this being something that I would wear other than a sock. So this pattern is really the perfect use for this yarn. So let me put these back in here. I would show you guys my stitch markers, but I don't have that many and I'm always using the same ones, so it's not that interesting. Been using the same stitch markers since the beginning. And put the pattern back in here. I know a lot of people look at patterns on their phone and follow them that way. I don't know how you people do that. Oh my gosh. I have to have the tangible pattern with a pen. I have a pen in every bag to mark where I'm at because I cannot do it on my phone. Also, my phone's like always almost dead, so speaking of, it may start to die while I'm recording and I may have to pause. We'll see. Oh, I was gonna say I'm holding this in, I've showed this before, it's just a little pocketbook. I found it at a thrift store with flowers on it. It's the perfect little portable knitting bag. Wow, I have so much fuzz on my black leggings from those mittens that I showed you guys, the green ones. They're very fuzzy and it gets everywhere. Okay, moving on. I have 3 whips that I will show you some progress on. I'm not going to talk about them for too terribly long because we've all seen them before. But I do want to take a second to talk about this bag. Isn't this adorable? You guys know I love patchwork. That's the front, and then there's a different design on the back. So this is from a lovely friend that I have met online. Her name is Sue, and she does occasionally post things on her Etsy shop, which I will link below, because she is also who sent me this little sock bag that I'm always using. And she so kindly and generously sent me this bag and said she was just working on a new patchwork design and she knows I love patchwork, so she sent me one. And I am so thankful. Thank you, Sue. I love these bags. As you can see, I use my other one all the time. Any socks I have going on or any little project, it's in that bag. And now this is holding my exordium shawl. Also, I really like the drawstring option. This is the only drawstring bag that I have. So this is my exordium shawl I showed you guys not too long ago. I haven't done a whole lot on it, but I should probably put that out a little bit. So the last time I showed you guys, I was right there where I have a little Christmas tree hanging. Christmas tree felt appropriate for this because of the green. So I've done a little bit more of that, and now I'm in this garter stitch section. Isn't it garter? I think so. And I'll be honest, I was not loving the colors together when I was here because I wasn't seeing a lot of this variegated. But now that I'm doing this section with the variegated color, I love it because there's going to be a pretty big section of that. So mainly I was thinking, oh, this is a little bit too dark because of all the green. But now that it's getting broken up with some of the lighter, I think it's really pretty. And this is very drapey. I think it's going to be a really nice shawl. So yeah, that's what we've got going. I pick this up every now and then and just knit a couple rows on it. I am not in a hurry to finish this one at the moment because I have a lot of shawls for this year, and maybe after Christmas I will pick this back up after I finish some Christmas gifts and things and work on it more consistently. But for now it's just kind of my like in-between project, where if I don't want to get out something that requires too much attention or I'm just bored of everything else, I'll get this out and knit a couple rows. So that's my exordium shawl. Next I have my Minuet sweater top, and I'm almost completed. I have almost completed the body. This is I talked about this before, this is the Minuet pattern by Tricot Design Marie Christine Levay. So I have finished the body, like the body pattern part, and now I'm on the bottom ribbing. I think I've only got, I don't know, 3 or 4 more rows to go. So you can see here that I have decreased a little before I went into my ribbing. So I knew that I wanted this to get smaller before the ribbing so that you almost have that like just tiny bit of, not overhang, but that looser fabric that kind of bunches at the bottom. So you can like pull the hem up a little bit and then it kind of folds over. Does that make sense? And I didn't realize that when you did the ribbing in the pattern, it has you go not just down a needle size, but a whole millimeter size. So I thought, well, I didn't know that, so I thought, I could have looked, but I thought that I would do some decreases before the ribbing to make sure I got that tightening in. So I think I did 10 knit 2 togethers just around the base. So I finished the charts, and then I did one more stockinette round, and then I did a round with the decreases. So I did 10, and I spaced them out between like every 18 stitches. And the only issue that I had after that was that I started my ribbing at the bottom with knit 1, purl 1. I went down to the needle size recommended, and I started my ribbing with knit 1, purl 1. But in the pattern, when you get to this, she has you continue this line through the ribbing, but my purls were not lining up with my purls. Or maybe I don't remember why I didn't do that, because I could have done that. Oh, okay, I remember. So in the pattern, when you're doing your ribbing, you would have had a knit stitch here, and then you could purl the next 2, and then, you know, knit, purl 2, and then you continue your ribbing so that you still have those purl 2 lines going through. But instead of getting to a knit right before that line, I already had a purl. So I didn't want to have 3 purls and then 3 more purls to make it work. So, oops, sorry. So I figured that I would just do the ribbing, and it would just have to break that line, and it's not a big deal. I don't think it makes really much of a difference. So yeah, now that I'm pretty much done with the body, I know for a fact that I am going to have enough yarn to do the sleeves, which before I was a little worried about, because I think I had 5 skeins, and it's Cloudborn Ultra Light, something like that, and it's discontinued, so you can't get it anymore. And so I thought I was going to have to do a shorter sleeve, but I just broke into the 3rd skein, so I still have almost a whole one and then 2 more. I'm pretty sure I can get 2 sleeves out of that. They're not huge sleeves either. They're just, I mean, they're a little bit balloony, but not anything crazy. So I should have plenty. And I just love this pattern. It's so sweet. I might have talked about this before, but the only problem I'm having is that you can see my my decreases on these little flowers. But you know what? I'm a human, not a factory, so it'll be fine. And I know that wool blooms a lot whenever you block it. And I forgot who I heard say this, but I heard where someone said that with wool, they let it sit in water with wool wash like overnight. And then they just lay it flat and the wool just blooms beautifully and kind of fills in. So I think I might do that. I should probably look into it a little bit more so that I don't know if there's such a thing as like over soaking it. But I do want to let this reach its fullest potential, and yeah, I don't need to do any aggressive blocking because it fits me perfectly. So laying it flat is perfect with me. I would like for those to fill in a little bit or just, look a little bit neater, which I'm sure blocking will help. So that is my Minway being held in yet another patchwork bag. This one is just from Ragtag Quilt Art on Etsy. This is actually the only project bag that I have bought myself, and I do love it. I really like that it has handles because a lot of project bags don't have handles. Excuse me. Okay, next whip. We've definitely all seen a million times, and I wasn't even going to show it to you, but if you watch my Instagram, or if you follow me on Instagram, you may know this because I shared it on my story yesterday. The craziest thing has happened. Okay, so let me just start back at when I started the sweater. I started the sweater last summer, like last July or something like that. And so I bought my yarn last summer from Lovecrafts, which is where I almost always buy my yarn. So anyway, sweater's going good, blah, blah, blah. I had 2 skeins left when I was done with the body. And I should have had enough from the get-go, but I had to deepen the yoke more than the pattern suggested, so that used up more yarn. So anyways, I started my first of the second balls right in the beginning of this sleeve. And I'm down to here, which on my husband is like to here. And I started to run out of yarn. There's a little bit left. And I only had 1 ball left. So I thought that's not enough to do this and the whole other sleeve because I already know that I used that whole ball just from the armpit to here. So I thought I need at least 1 more ball because then the 1 ball will get me from the armpit down to the forearm on the other one, and then the second ball should be enough to do just that small section. So the problem was dye lot. I'm sure you guys know if you get different dye lots, sometimes they might match perfect, I guess, I don't know. But sometimes you'll have like a line where you can see that the dye lot has changed even a little bit. And that's the last thing I wanted. So I couldn't just go order another ball of yarn while still working on this anyways. I knew I could order one and then alternate skeins, but I didn't want to do that. So I got on Ravelry and I went to the yarn stashes and I looked up the yarn and I found people who had it in their stash. And I messaged almost every single one of them. And I was like, hey, I have this problem. Would you sell this yarn if it matches my dye lot? And so many people responded like, yeah, I'll sell it to you, no biggie. But none of the dye lots matched. Wah. So, and I, like, who do I think I am? That I'm just gonna magically find someone with the same dye lot throughout the whole world? Most of the people that responded were international. So anyways, none of them matched. So I've had to pause the sweater and I said, okay, I'll just order another ball I'll just go directly from Seardar's website and get 1 more ball because I'm pretty sure that's all I need. I hope that's all I'm gonna need. And I figured I'll just have to alternate skeins when it gets here and whatever, it's fine. I have to finish this stinking sweater. I'm so tired of working on this sweater. I just want it done. And the mail came yesterday. I thought I heard someone. The mail came yesterday And I didn't even look at the dye lot number because I was like, there's no way. Because first of all, the first set that I ordered was a year and a half ago. Second of all, I'm ordering it directly from the distributor this time, not from a secondhand or third party, whatever, you know, Lovecrafts. But I was looking at them and I was like, oh, these look pretty stinking close. I'll just, you know, it's good. They're close enough. I think it'll be fine. But then I got to looking and oh my gosh, they are the same dye lot. So one of these was the one I already had, and one of them is brand spanking new. Exact same dye lot. I don't know how big of lots Sirdar is dyeing at one time, or if no one else has bought Sirdar in this specific color since I did. I don't know what stars had to align, but they did, and it's just awesome. I'm so excited that I don't have to alternate skeins anymore. Now let's just pray that 2 balls is enough to get me through. It should be. And if I'm playing yarn chicken at the end, I've got some pretty long ends that I've cut. I'll just cut them shorter and I'll just have a bunch of little rickety pieces at the end of the arms. It'll be fine. So yeah, now I can finally get this sweater resumed. And I need to get this thing done, you guys. It has been such a labor of love. And my husband has the audacity to tell me that it's itchy. And I was like, I don't care how itchy it is. You're going to wear it. It's not even all wool. It's 50% wool and 50% acrylic. So don't come at me with it's itchy. You're wearing the sweater. Okay? Or I'm going to wear it. And it's way too big for me. So I'm going to look like a fool. But somebody is going to wear this sweater because it is taking me way too long. Note to self. Husbands don't get fingering weight sweaters. At least not my husband. He's too big. Maybe a Aaron weight sweater next time. Maybe. We'll see. I don't even know if I'm willing to do that at this point. Okay. Now, I have quite a few, quite a few yarn acquisitions because when I ordered the yarn for my Lana vest, I was like $20 away from the free shipping. And so of course I had to get $20 worth more of yarn, and then I ended up getting even more. So the first ones that I got are more of the West Yorkshire Spinner 4-plies. And I got them for specific purposes. Well, that's a lie. I don't know why I even said that. I only got one for a specific purpose. And this one is called Milk Bottle. And it is to go with this pink Happy Feet yarn to make the ballerina mittens that I showed you guys a couple episodes ago for my daughter Rosie. And the pattern is actually called Elsa Loves to Dance by... I actually wrote two whole things down by Moore's Lilla Isle. I'll link it below as usual. But I'm going to make her those ballerina mittens as soon as actually no, I'm starting these as soon as I finish the thumb on those other mittens. Because I want her to have these for the cold weather. They were going to be a Christmas present, but I think I'll knock them out pretty quick. And then I'll just give them to her as soon as they're done. So that's why I got the white. And the pink, I have a lot of this color. This is actually, okay, this is color 22. I was going to tell you the color name, but it's just 22. This also came in the big box of yarn that a subscriber sent to me. And I have quite a few of them. So I'll just keep it in stash. And my daughter is the girliest of girls and she loves pink. So there will be lots of pink things made for her in the future. And then these two were just two that I got to fill up space. And I figured I'm making an order. I could always use some contrast colors for socks. And I know that I would like to get into mittens, such as like the little color work. I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's like a certain style of mitten where it almost is like a triangle at the top and their color work. I don't know. They look like Norwegian or something to me. So that's why I got these two, to be contrast colors or whatever. And this one is in the color Nutmeg. And this one is Penny Royal. This one did not look this purple on the website. It actually looked kind of... There's someone screaming outside. This looked more of a grayish mauve taupey color, but it is, I mean, it's purple. But it is a toned down purple, so I think it'll be fine. I would not wear this color in like a garment. I just don't think that this color works well with my skin. I'm very pale. Even in the summer when I think I've got a tan, I look at myself on a camera and I'm so pale. So I think that it kind of clashes. But it'll be fine in socks, mittens, things of the like. Now the next acquisition, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about. So I was digging around on Ravelry. I don't even know what I was looking for, but I came across the Malwina sweater. I'll put a picture of it here. It deserves to be here because it's so beautiful. Malwina sweater by Alexandra. Oh Lord. Solowianik. Oh my gosh, I saw this sweater and I said, like, the first thing that hit my mind was red Christmas sweater. Have to do this. I had no intentions of making another sweater for myself, like right now, but now I do. I don't know what it was about this pattern, but it just screamed like a festive, like fancy sweater. And I just thought that red, I do not like red. Let me just go ahead and say that on me. I don't like to wear red. I don't really know why. Anytime in the past when I've had blonde hair, I like to wear red, but when I have dark hair, I don't like to wear red. And I think it's because it brings out the redness in my face. But I don't know why I'm all about the red for this one, but I think it's going to be so beautiful. So I ordered more. I actually didn't realize that I got the exact same yarn as my vest, but it's another Paintbox Yarns Wool Mix Aran. And is this not beautiful? It's called Red, okay, well, I think it's called Red Wine. It doesn't say on here. It says 815, but I'm almost certain it was called Red Wine. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but they had a lot of other reds. So they had like your classic red, like candy apple red. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted red, but I wanted it a little bit toned down, but still bright enough to be festive for Christmas. So this is perfect. And it really doesn't look the same on the camera as it does right here in my hands. It has more of a purple undertone in person. Although, I mean, it still looks beautiful here. And I don't think it'll look too bad with my skin tone. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this. Again, this is half wool, half acrylic. And I got, how many of these did I get? I think I got 5. I got more than the pattern suggested because I've learned my lesson now. I should always just overestimate, and then if I have extra, it's fine. It's fine. I'd rather have extra than not enough. So, on the pattern, I really like the way that it fits the sample sweater. Whoever's wearing that, I would assume maybe that's Alexandra. I really like the way it fits her. In some of the project pages, though, it looks like the sweater is designed almost like a straight down, and then you're ribbing at the end. But what I want to do, I am going to modify it a little bit. I want the body to be a little bigger, so maybe about this width. But then I want to cinch it in at the bottom so that it kind of like overhangs like that. Does that make sense? And then you have those big sleeves. I don't know, I have it in my mind and it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And a bit shorter as well, so that I want it to hit right at like the tip of my high-waisted jeans. And yeah, oh my gosh. I'm so excited. I either want it to be like a short sweater, not super short, but you know, cropped, or long. I do love a good long sweater. But I don't always have the patience to knit a good long sweater. So, anyways, absolutely dying to cast this on because I would love to have it ready to wear by Christmas. Is that realistic? Probably not. But one can dream. And at the rate that I'm knitting right now, it might just happen. I just can't stop knitting. I shared a reel on my Instagram this morning that it said like, when I'm complaining about my house being a mess, but I'm still knitting. And then the audio was like, it's me. It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. I am the problem. I am knitting way too much. But that's okay. It's fine. Everyone's still taken care of. Meals are still being made. Everyone's fed. Everyone's happy. The house can be a little bit of a mess, you know? It's fine. We live here. So, yeah, I have told myself that I have to finish my husband's sweater before I start the Christmas sweater. So, that's the best motivation I can get to finish his sweater. Which shouldn't be too bad because I think I've had to pause a lot and have him try it on for the sleeve because I don't know if the decreases in the pattern are going to be the same for him since I started out with a different stitch number. But the second sleeve should be much quicker because I will have already written down what the first sleeve is and I can just go. I'm not going to have to pause as much. So fingers crossed it doesn't take me forever. If I could have it done by his birthday on November 7th, that would be amazing. It's probably not going to happen, but I will try. Okay, I need a sip of tea. Okay, I have one more thing to show. This is the longest episode I've ever filmed. I told you guys I've been doing a lot. I'm feeling very inspired lately. Okay, I showed this sewing pattern a long time ago. I think it was summer when I showed this. It's the McCall's M7948, and I've been wanting to make this one right here. So I don't have a ton of fabric. I'm not a huge sewer. I'm not a very good sewer, which you guys will see. I'm recording the process of making this dress in like a vlog style to do like a sew a dress with me type video. And I've only done the top like bodice area. I haven't even finished it. And I've already messed up so many times. That's why I'm filming it, because it's quite comical, honestly. Just how bad I am. But I do it anyways, and I enjoy it. And I don't always end up with a perfect outcome, but you know what? It's fine. Okay, so I went through my fabric, and this is the fabric that I had enough of to make this sweater, or got sweaters on the brain, to make this dress. And what do you know? It's patchwork. Am I obsessed with patchwork? It's possible. Okay, so this is what I've got. I just finished sewing the sides together. I did just try it on, and the armholes are a little bit too small. So I think I might just have to cut in a little bit more. I had the same problem with the neck hole as well. I had already done the bias binding and everything, and it was just too tight. And so I just completely cut it all off and redid it, and now it fits great. So I think I just need to take some more out of the arms too. It's very possible that the pattern was written with enough room, but I'm not reading the pattern. I literally just cut the pieces out and then wing it, because reading the instructions does not... Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I keep doing that. Reading the instructions is not my strong point. And before anyone says, you know, you can look it up on YouTube, you can learn how to follow the sewing directions and blah, blah, blah. I know, I could. But that takes more time. And I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of extra time. Let me put it that way. So, for now, I'm fine with just winging it. It's kind of more fun that way, to me even, than just following. Because, I mean, in knitting, I follow every single line to the T for the most part. So in sewing, it's kind of nice to just like have to use my own brain and like mess up and have to fix it, and yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And obviously this is not the whole thing. There's a round here, and then there's another round here of different separate gathers, so it gets a little bit bigger. I did taper in right here just a smidge so that it gets a little bit tight under the bust before it goes into the flowiness, which I think might be part of the pattern. Actually, I don't know that it is. But my plan for this, I have a burgundy red long sleeve t-shirt that I think would be really cute under this, and then I can wear my vest on top if it's not too busy. It's a pretty busy pattern or fabric. And at first I thought it was just flowers, but I noticed when I was sewing it, it actually has little strawberries. How cute is that? Yeah. So yeah, this should be a fun little dress. I'm excited about making that vlog for it because it's just a different format than like a sit-down talk, and I think it's kind of fun. And you guys say you like the real lifeness of my videos. A vlog is very real life. There are times when you can hear my kids like interrupting me and playing, and my house is a disaster, and I'm screwing up a million times. So yeah, it should be fun. And speaking of vlogs, I mentioned earlier that I have been like binge watching Vlogmases, and I kind of think I want to do it this year. Maybe not like every day. I know I couldn't do it every day. I could probably film every day, but obviously not the whole day, but I could film like one little thing a day, and then maybe at the end of the week I can put them all together and have like a once a week video for Vlogmas. That's what I'm leaning towards. Now, it might get tricky because, as I mentioned in a few videos prior, we are getting into foster care, and we only have one class left. We're almost licensed, and we're going to be getting a placement soon, and that's very exciting. And life is going to get a little bit crazier, obviously, but so I won't, as soon as we get a placement, I probably won't be here as frequent as I am at the moment, or I might be, I don't know. It's all very unpredictable. But anyways, once we have a placement or we have a foster child, they cannot be in the vlogs like my kids can. So I'll have to be a little bit picky, I guess. I don't know. I have to be careful about what I'm recording. I probably won't include my kids a whole lot anyways. I try not to, I mean, I'm totally fine with them, sneaking in here or there, but I try not to put too much about them in my videos. But yeah, I think that it would be really fun to do Vlogmas, and also to have the memories to look back on would always be really nice. So I think that I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe sometime in November I'll do like a weekend vlog just to kind of dip my toes into it and see how I like it. But yeah, I think that it would be fun. And speaking of what I've been watching, I thought I had 3. Hang on. Okay. There's 2 new podcasts that I have been, well, they're not new. 2 podcasts that I've just been really enjoying lately. And the first one is Amber from A Lovely Yarn. I've actually followed her for a long time, and she follows me too. And I feel like our styles are very similar, especially after watching all of her Vlogmases. That's who I've been binge watching, her Vlogmases. And so I see a lot of her home in her vlogs, and I think that our styles are very similar. She's very like cottagey, eclectic, vintage, that sort of thing. And it's a knitting podcast primarily, but I really enjoy her content. And also, brain fart. A Knitter's Niche. her name is Bobby, and she has a knitting podcast, and the things that she knits are just so beautiful, and their color choices are beautiful, and she's very organized, and she's just so sweet. If you haven't ever seen her, pop over to her channel. I'll link her and Amber both below. I really enjoy both of those podcasts. I think I'm up to date on all of their videos. I get in these ruts where I don't really watch any podcasts. Excuse me. Particularly when I get into a show, which doesn't happen often, but when I get into a show, that's pretty much all I watch. And then I'll watch a podcast every now and then. But here lately, I've had no shows to really watch. Just not really been into anything. And so I have been binge watching knitting podcasts and old vlogmases, and maybe that's why I've been so inspired and motivated in knitting lately, because when I watch knitting podcasts, it's very inspiring, you know, because you're watching other people's knitting journeys, and half the time I leave someone's episode with like 4 more things on my Ravelry queue. But anyways, a lovely yarn, that's Amber and Bobby at A Knitter's Niche. Both of their channels are lovely, and if you like mine, I recommend going and checking out theirs. I think you'll like them as well. And I thought there was something else that I wanted to, oh yeah, okay, this is a little bit of a serious note. So on my Q&A, someone had asked if I was a Christian, and I said yes, and I answered the question for myself personally. And I got a comment that said, you know, this is not the place for witnessing. And I kind of just like I read it and I was like, oh my gosh. I was, first of all, like a little bit, my initial reaction honestly was a little bit mad, because to say that it's not the place for this or that, or, you know, it's my channel and it's the place for me to share about me. So it kind of is the place for witnessing if I wanted to. I didn't in that video. I only shared about myself. But it also was disheartening to think that just me speaking of my own personal faith would offend anyone enough to leave a comment about it. And the last thing I want to do is offend anybody. But that being said, my religion is me. My identity is in Christ, and if you're watching my channel, you're gonna get me, and that's just all there is to it, really. And especially with Vlogmas, I you know, Christmas is the birth of Jesus Christ, and that's how we celebrate it. So there will be a lot of that going on, you know, me talking about that, or just the idea of it. So I just want to say, I never mean to offend anyone by anything like that, or really with anything. But if that does offend you, just the fact that I am a Christian, or that I might talk about it sometimes, then it's totally okay. If you need to go to someone else's channel or take a break from mine, you know, that's fine. I get it. I understand. Not everybody believes the same things that I do. But I just wanted to give a heads up that that will be more of a topic probably. Just as the more I record, the more you guys are getting to know me, and the more I share about myself, and yeah, it's just gonna come up because it's, I would say, a big part of my life, but it's the main part of my life. So yeah, that's just the way it is, and I hope that I didn't offend anyone else, but if I did, I apologize, and just know that going forward, that's not an off topic, or it's not an off limit topic for me. So if that is an issue, it's totally fine if you need to, do whatever you need to do. But the comment left was not hateful at all. And I haven't really got any hateful comments. All of your comments, for the most part, are so heartwarming and just unbelievably kind. So I haven't really had to deal with any bad comments or anything, but if there ever is an urge to leave a hateful comment, I will just delete it and move on. There's no point in anyone being hateful to anybody. Not just me, but to another commenter or anything like that. But yeah, I really, for the most part, well, I shouldn't even say for the most part, for really all of it, you guys are very kind and very thoughtful, and I'm just thankful that you're here, and I love doing this, and your comments are what keep me going, so please don't stop commenting, because I love reading your comments. And I used to respond to all of them, but lately, that last video, my last knitting podcast, got 10,000 views, and that just blew my mind, first of all. And I haven't been able to keep up with every single comment, but please know that I do read them. I definitely read them. Even if I don't respond, I am reading it, and they all warm my heart, so don't stop leaving them. I feel like that's how I get to know you guys in the same way you're getting to know me. So you can tell me what you're working on. If you've got a pattern you think that I'll like, leave it below. Tell me something that happened during your week, I see a lot of your names and I recognize them, and I feel like we're friends, so I want to continue that friendship in the comments. So please don't be afraid to leave comments. And yeah, that's all I have for this week. I say that like it's not a lot, but we're going on a minute. We're going on a whole minute, guys. We're going on an hour and 16 minutes, which is wild. So I will bid you farewell. If you enjoyed this video and you have not yet subscribed, please do. It is very much appreciated. And if you would like this video, and like I said, leave a comment. I love to read them. I would say the first 50, I'm usually pretty good at responding to. So, and if you have a question, I definitely try to answer any questions in the comments. So yeah, that's all I got. And I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day and a lovely weekend. We are actually getting ready to, as soon as the kids wake up from nap. Oh my gosh, it's already 4:30. They're still napping. Okay, well, at some point today, I thought we're gonna go to our local corn maze and then come home and do some Halloween baking, maybe watch a spooky movie or something. A spooky kids movie, that is. But seeing it's already 4:30, I don't really know where we're headed with that. Anyways, hope you guys have a lovely weekend, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting!